That now brings us to our public hearing. Tonight we have a second reading on an ordinance to amend Chapter 6 governing alcohol to provide for the serving of wine in an art shop within stated parameters and for other purposes. Mr. Davis, you want to give us some background information?
This is an amendment to the alcohol ordinance to allow a bring your own bottle for art classes. Business would like to set up. They are a group that has several of these in the southeast in different locations, and they allow people to come in and bring in wine for the evening when they have art classes. And it was very interesting. I was talking to the lady who was running the business, and it was some people have fine art and we have fun art. But she could not operate under our current alcohol ordinance. So we looked around at several of the local cities who had this type of ordinance for art shops, and we crafted the one that we have before you, which would allow this type of operation to occur here in the city. We also allowed it to work with other businesses in the BN, BG, and HSB districts as well. But it specifically is like set aside for the art shop. Questions?
Any questions for Mr. Davis?
Yes, so we've mirrored, I know they have one in Duluth, we're pretty much mirroring the
Yes, sir.
the ordinance that they have.
And it's been reviewed for legal, and we're good.
Any other questions for Mr. Davis?
So, Mr. Davis, so just so we can get this all clear, these bottles that we're bringing in with us to these art shows have to be sealed, 100%?
When you bring them in,
Right,
should be a new bottle.
should be opened.
Shouldn't be.
Okay, great, just making sure.
This is, provide a little bit more background information. This was a lady who actually is a local Brookwood High School graduate and wants to come back and open a business here in Snellville. So it's always great when we have one of our own actually coming back and staying in our city. And she contacted Mr. Davis and myself to see if Snellville would consider having an ordinance like this. If you look, several cities have similar ordinances. If you go on Groupon or Living Social, you'll see coupons all the time for painting lessons where you can BYOB basically. And the way this ordinance has been drafted, it would only apply to art shops. It wouldn't apply to schools or anywhere like that where there would be youth. And so it is something that will help. You know that we've been trying to promote the arts here in Snellville, and this is just one more tool to allow us to expand on that. Do I have any further comment by council? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I will make a motion. Trying to get to my thing here. I'd make a motion that we pass ordinance number 2013 an ordinance to amend the code of Snellville, Georgia, Chapter 6 governing alcohol to allow customers to bring in bottles of wine to certain eating establishments, to allow eating establishments to charge a court fee. This is not the correct one, is it?
Yes, it is.
Court fee, and to provide for the serving of wine in an art shop and for other purposes.
There is a motion to approve the ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Emmanuel. For clarification purposes, it talks about eating establishments because that's the existing ordinance that we are amending. This is open for public hearings. At this time, I'll open it up for public comment. If anyone would like to come forward either for or against this ordinance, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, I'm Gretchen Schultz, 2027 Tanglewood Drive in Snellville, and I have been to this art shop, and one of my daughters convinced me to go, not to the one in Snellville, of course, but another nearby shop. One of my daughters convinced me to go one night. Believe me, I am no artist. I can't even draw a stick figure hardly. And we went to one of their pet painting classes, and I was really pleased with the art that I did that night. And several people had had a glass of wine while they were painting. We didn't take any, but it was just a wonderfully fun evening, and I just wanted you to have that knowledge of my experience with this art shop.
Thank you. Any additional public comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of passage of the ordinance as stated signify by raising your right hand. 6 in favor, all those opposed, 0 opposed. The ordinance stands approved. Moving on, second reading, consideration and action on an ordinance clarifying the scope of the mayor's authority to participate in administrative affairs pursuant to Section 3.10 subsection E of the city charter. Mayor Pro Tem Witz.
I'd like to make a motion that we pass ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of Snellville Charter, Chapter 2, Section 2-171, entitled General Authority to Clarify Powers of the Mayor to Act in Administrative Matters consistent with requirements of the City Charter, establishing the City of Snellville as a city manager form of government. Basically, what we're doing here is we're just bringing our ordinances in line with our charter. They're in conflict right now. Our charter specifically says what the duties of the mayor are, but the ordinances were never brought forward from back when we were a strong mayor form of government, and all this is going to do is bring those ordinances in line with the charter.
Second.
There's a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Woods and a second by Councilman Emanuel. This is open for a public hearing. First, we'll entertain discussion by the council. Does anybody have any comments on this motion?
Mayor, let me clarify some of the points I said a few weeks ago. I'm on all in favor of change. I think, I'm going to say this one time, and I'm going to say it again. I'm in favor of change. Change is pretty important. However, the process and the road that we take to do the change is probably as important, maybe if not. The ordinances that we have in front of us, or from this one on until the next, they required a lot of time to prepare. I was not privy to any of that time. I saw these resolutions last meeting that we had. I will not support any changes to any of the charters tonight. I thought at one point in one of our regular sessions or meetings or retreats, we decided that we needed to discuss this by forming a committee that would sit there and talk about all these changes and bring them up formally, and possibly if it has to deal with reaching out to the General Assembly, let's take it to the General Assembly. At this point, I don't know where the legalities stand. I will not jump into this at this point and support this ordinance.
Madam Chair, Councilman Saval, this is not a home rule change, it's an ordinance. This is going to bring this in line with our charter. We're not changing the charter. We're not touching the charter. The charter already defines these duties of the mayor. All we're doing is bringing this ordinance into line with that charter. It has nothing to do with changing any power that the mayor has under our charter.
Further clarification. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Further clarification. I needed to understand how this is coming to an ordinance. What drove it up here? There's something that did not grasp, and therefore I'm not going to support this tonight.
A bit of clarification. Mayor Pro Tem Witz is correct. This is an ordinance which is within the council's authority to change with an amendment. It's a second reading. The ordinance that they're trying to change currently, the charter lays out certain duties of the mayor. And then we have an ordinance that supplements those duties, and that it currently is Chapter 2, Section 2-171 of our Code of Ordinances, and it states that the mayor shall be the chief executive officer of the city and shall enforce the laws of the city and shall require the faithful performance of all administrative duties. And so what the council is proposing tonight by amending this ordinance is that be deleted in its entirety, thereby striking the code section which refers to the mayor as the chief executive officer of the city. I will open this up for public comment. If anyone would like to speak for or against it, please state your name and address for the record. See no public comment, I will close the public comment and call the question for a vote. All those in favor of amendment of the ordinance as stated signify by raising your right hand. That's 4 in favor. All those opposed, 2 opposed. The amendment stands approved. Moving on to C, second reading, consideration action on a home rule ordinance to add section 5.16C to the charter of the city of Snellville. Mayor Pro Tem Witt.
Snellville, Georgia, to clarify, the mayor and city council have the right to terminate and remove from office any appointed official from office with or without cause upon the affirmative vote of 4 members of the city council. To clarify that appointed officials of the city serve at the pleasure of the city council. To repeal conflicting ordinances, to provide for an effective date and for other purposes.
There's a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Witt. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Kraus. Further discussion.
Basically, this is going to clear up an issue that we have currently in the city where our charter specifically says that the mayor, when there's a vacancy of city attorney, has the power to appoint the city attorney. We're not touching that. All we're saying is not clear. The majority of this council believes that the firing of the city attorney is something that's done along with all the other appointed officials of the city. And that's something that has to be done by a majority of council. The mayor thinks that the right to hire also infers the right to fire. And that doesn't seem what was meant in the charter. So all this does is clear it up. It clears it up so that now the city manager or the city attorney will be, like all the other appointed officials in the city, will be let go or dismissed by a vote of the majority of the mayor and council and not by one elected official.
Additional discussion? For clarification purposes, this ordinance specifically adds subsection 5.16C, which reads, appointed officials of the city of Snellville shall serve at the pleasure of the mayor and city council and may be suspended, terminated, or removed by a vote of 4 members of the city council. Currently, the mayor, as Mayor Pro Tem Witt said, has the power to hire the city attorney, the city clerk, and other positions within the city. This is something that is actually currently under litigation. Everyone's well aware of what's been going on. This arguably would add language to, I guess, in Mayor Pro Tem Witt's opinion, solve that situation. I don't believe that this language, as it's stated, would still go to the city attorney issue, but I do believe the language, as stated, attempts to change the powers of the mayor. And we have an opinion by our former city attorney, Tony Powell, that the powers of the mayor cannot be changed without going through the General Assembly. So I don't believe that council can do this by home rule ordinance. I also don't believe that this home rule ordinance has been properly advertised.
Point of order. The chair shall be impartial. Impartiality precludes participation in debate. I can give you
That is
I can
not.
give you ordinance and Robert's Rules sections if you would like.
You can give me Robert's Rules of Evidence. 11th edition has special rules for small group meetings. We've already been through this before, Councilman Emmanuel. We're not going to go through this debate again.
Rule against the chair's participation in
Councilman
debate.
Emmanuel,
Robert's Rules of
Councilman
Order,
Emmanuel.
11th edition. I had the floor, page 394, line 24.
You are correct, and that is for large group assemblies. But if you continue to read Robert's Rules of Procedure 11th edition, for small group assemblies, which the city council is considered, the chair should have the debate. In addition, our city charter says that the mayor shall vote and
The
have
mayor
all.
shall
and have
vote,
all,
the mayor shall not
have all
The mayor
duties
shall be
and rights
impartial.
of a regular council member. So, as I was saying, I do not
Normally,
agree with this
especially in a large
home rule
body, he
ordinance.
should have nothing to say on the merits of pending questions.
Councilman Emmanuel, you're correct, in a large body. However,
It says
the
normally,
reason-
especially in a large body.
Exactly.
Normally would preclude
Especially in a large
only a large-
body.
especially,
Your
not
rules-
only, not
Councilman
exclusively.
Emmanuel, your language exactly, in a large body, but the whole point of the 11th edition was that it made amendments to add for a small assembly. This council is considered a small assembly, and those rules do not apply.
Appeal the
Even
decision of the
arguably,
chair.
if those
Second.
rules applied,
Appeal
then
the decision
it
of
would
the
not
chair.
matter because
Second.
the charter overrides that. You are both.
I'm going to call
Whatever.
for a
I've said
vote.
what I had
wanna
to say.
call
I'm
for
going to call the
a
motion.
vote.
I'm going to call the motion. All those in favor of Home Rule Ordinance 2013-04 signify by raising your right hand.
That's not the motion on the floor, Mayor.
I'm
We
not
have- we have- we
recognizing.
have a-
I'm not recognizing your motion. I'm calling the motion. All those in favor of Home Rule 2013-04 signify by raising your right hand.
Mayor, I just want it reflected in the record.
It's so
that I had-
reflected.
That I had, excuse me, Councilman
I-
Emanuel objected to the decision of the chair and asked for a vote on that, and that you refused to take that. Is that your position?
That is not my position. What Councilman Emanuel is trying to do is to stifle the chair from a debate, which is not a proper procedure. So it's not a proper motion, and I'm calling the motion that is properly before this council, which is passage of Home Rule Ordinance 2013-04. Mayor Pro Tem Witz, I think you and I have had this debate in the past, and it's already been resolved that you cannot prevent
ma'am,
the
it-
chair from debating.
No, ma'am,
So
it
I'm
was
calling
never
the
information.
motion that
Point
is
of
on the
information.
floor, which
Point
is
of
Home Rule
information.
Ordinance
Point of
2013-04. All those in
Point
favor
of
of the
information.
motion signify by raising your right hand.
Once
Point
again,
of
Mayor,
information.
rather than listening to this council, you're trying to bully your way through this and get to the amendment you want.
I'm
or
trying to
the
bully
thing you
my way
want.
through this. You're
Yes,
trying to
ma'am.
stop the chair from having a participation in debate. Who's the bully, Mayor Pro Tem Witz?
Oh,
I
ma'am,
think
that's-
you
that's-
certainly are.
That question's already been answered.
You are laughable.
Can
Laughable.
City Attorney Powell, I'd like a question.
Mr. Powell is not the city attorney. It's not appropriate for him to come up at this point in time. We've closed public comment. I've called the motion. All those in favor of passage of Home Rule Ordinance 2013-04 signify by raising your right hand.
Mayor, we're not moving till we get the last thing resolved. We're not being bullied through this thing again. Again, there's a motion on the floor, and there's a second about overruling the decision of the chair, and that needs to be voted on before we move forward with this motion.
Fine. You want to vote that the chair doesn't have a right to speak, then go, so be it, and we will take it up in court like we have to take up everything else because of the actions of this council.
can I ask one question, Mayor, please? Tell me again what motion are you asking for us to approve?
Mayor Pro Tem Witz made a motion to approve
2013
Home Rule Ordinance
what?
2013-4, which
Dash
is the
4?
motion
I
in
thought
front
that
of
was
us.
the one we just voted on 4-2.
No,
It was a
That's-
people's opinion.
this is C.
Okay.
Once again, not to put words in my mouth, Mayor, no one says that you cannot have discussion. There's rules on how you have that discussion. If you want to have a discussion on an item on the floor, then you leave the chair, appoint the chair to someone else, you can go down, and then you can make any discussion items that you want to make.
Mayor Pro
But you
Tem
can't
Witz,
make
that
it
is
from the center chair.
improper procedure.
No, ma'am,
but
that's
if you-
directly out of
no,
it.
No, sir, that is, as Councilman Emmanuel just stated, that is for large assemblies. Again,
I
for
city
the
did not
fifth
government is a
I did
time.
large
not make that
assembly.
For the
statement.
fifth
I did
time.
not make that statement. I read from Robert's rules.
Exactly, for large
of or-
assemblies.
No,
Have
stop.
you pulled the
Stop.
language
I
that
have the
says
floor. Will you
small
stop talking,
assemblies?
please?
Have you pulled the language that says small assemblies? Have you just
I have pulled
conveniently
Robert's
left that
rules of
language out
order.
of your motion?
It says normally, comma, especially in large bodies, which includes small bodies, since it says normally. It is
That's correct.
Right.
emphasized
Okay,
for large bodies.
It's not in anyone's interest to sit up here and argue. We will resolve all of these issues in court. You can sit here and try to stifle the chair all you want. So your motion is to overrule the chair, that the chair has no right to debate. All those in favor of that motion signify by raising your right hand. That's 4 in favor. Those opposed, 2 opposed. The motion carries. Now, for Home Rule Ordinance 2013-04, all those in favor? No, there's not. It's not public hearing on the motion. All those in favor of Home Rule Ordinance 2013-04 signify by raising your right hand. That's 4 in favor. All those opposed, that's 2 opposed. The motion carries. Moving on to Section D, second reading, consideration action on Home Rule Ordinance to add Section 2.31 to the Charter of the City of Snellville. Councilman Witz.
Home Rule Ordinance to add 2.31 to the Charter of the City of Snellville, Georgia, to clarify the mayor and city council have the right to nominate, appoint, or designate a qualified person to fill a vacant position in the event vacant positions are not filled, to repeal conflicting ordinances, to provide for an effective date, and for other purposes.
There's a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Witz. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Howard. Further discussion? Again, for clarification, this explicitly states Section 2.31, power to nominate, appoint, or designate an office or position, notwithstanding any other provision of this charter, if a position of any type with the city remains vacant for a period of longer than 60 days, the city council shall have the authority to appoint and confirm by majority vote a qualified and eligible person to fill the vacant position. Again, as I stated last time, I will not support this tonight because I believe that it overturns powers of the mayor that cannot be changed by home rule ordinance.
Point of order.
I'll call the question. Oh, actually, we'll open the floor to public comment on home rule ordinance
There's a point of order on the floor, Mayor.
2013-02. If you would like to speak to this in favor or against, please come forward. Please state your name and address for the record.
Please note this is the second time in 7 minutes that I've been not allowed to speak to.
Your point of order is noted. If anyone would like to come forward and discuss Home Rule Ordinance 2013-02 in favor or against, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no public comment, I will close the floor. Any further discussion on Home Rule Ordinance 2013-02? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. That's 4 in favor. All those opposed, that's 2 opposed. The amendment stands approved. E, second reading, consideration action on Home Rule Ordinance to amend Section 3.11 of the Charter of the City of Snellville. Councilman Howard.
A home rule ordinance to amend Section 3.11 of the Charter of the City of Snellville to clarify the mayor and the council's ability to nominate candidates for boards, commissions, and authorities with confirmation by the mayor and council, to repeal conflicting ordinances, to provide for an effective date, and for other purposes.
Second.
There's a motion, and there's a second by Mayor Pro Tem Witz. Further discussion? Again, for clarification, this basically says, subsection G, all members of a board, commission, or authority shall serve at will and may be removed from office by a vote of 3 members of the city council unless otherwise approved by law. Upon expiration of term of office, a member will continue to serve until replacement is nominated and confirmed by the city council as specified in paragraph B of this section. Is there any public comment for or against this? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of Home Rule Ordinance 2013-03 signify by raising your right hand. That is 5. 5 in favor. All those opposed. That is 1 opposed. The ordinance amendment passes.
Public hearing portion of that appear to get cut off, and I really think it is deserving of allowing, not to encourage debate, but on that subject, it's supposed to have a public hearing because it's in your public hearing section. And I think there was a call for comment, and then I just want to make sure that to the extent there's a need for public hearing on that it gets satisfied tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Is there any public comment on section 5.16C, which was item number C. Seeing none, I will close the public comment. We'll rehave the vote. All those in favor of C, action on home rule ordinance to add section 5.16C to the charter of the city of Snellville by home rule, I believe it was 2013-04, signify by raising your right hand. 4 in favor, all those opposed, 2 opposed, the motion still is approved. Moving on to new business, we have consideration action on approval of the Snellville Tourism and Trade Association Agreement for 2013. Mayor Pro Tem Witz, I believe you have a motion to postpone.
Yes, I'd like to postpone this to our February 11th meeting. Basically, there's a few little things that the Snellville Tourism and Trade people would like to have worked out with the city prior to the approval of it. So it'll be back on the 11th, just some minor stuff, but we want to make sure we get it right.
There's a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Witz to postpone. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Kraus. Any further discussion? See none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of postponement signify by raising your right hand. 6 in favor, all those opposed, 0 opposed. The motion is approved. Moving on, consideration and action on resolution fixing of qualifying fees. This is Resolution 2013-3, fixing of qualifying fees for City of Snellville, Georgia. Whereas the City of Snellville will hold a general election on Tuesday, November 5th, 2013, for the purpose of electing 3 members of council. The council posts to be voted on are Post 3, Post 4, and Post 5. And whereas the qualifying period for candidates opens Monday, August 26, 2013 at 8:30 a.m. and closes on Friday, August 30th, 2013 at 4:30 p.m. Any person desiring to run for these offices shall qualify in the office of the city clerk by filing a notice of candidacy. And whereas the qualifying fee for a city council seat is $120, and whereas this election will be held in the Snellville City Hall Community Room located at 2342 Oak Road. Polls will be open at 7 a.m. and will close at 7 p.m. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Snellville, Georgia, that if no candidate receives a majority vote, then a runoff election will be held on December 3rd, 2013 at the same location. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2013-03? There's a resolution by Councilman Sabag. Is there a second? Second by Mayor Pro Tem Witz. Further discussion? Everyone mark their calendars. Call the question. All those in favor of Resolution 2013-3 signify by raising your right hand. 6 in favor. All those opposed. 0 opposed. The motion stands approved. We will have qualifying beginning August 26, 2013. That now brings us to our council reports. Council